Harley-Davidson's glory days are over. In 2025, bikes that once sold for $32,000 can't fetch even $18,000. Resale markets are flooded, dealers are slashing prices, and owners are panicking. From touring giants to so-called performance models, values are collapsing. And one Harley on this list has lost so much money, it almost feels impossible. Stay tuned, you need to see this. Starting at number 15 is the Harley-Davidson Nightster. The Nightster once disappeared in 2012. Fans begged for its return. In 2022, Harley brought it back with big promises, but the comeback has failed badly. The new Nightster was supposed to be Harley's entry-level Sportster. It carried the 975cc Revolution Max engine, pushing 89 horsepower and 70 pound-feet of torque. On paper, it looked modern. At the dealer, it cost around $13,500. By 2025, you're lucky to sell one for under $7,000. So, why did it collapse? First, an identity crisis. The bike is neither classic nor cutting edge. It looks like a watered-down Sportster, missing that raw Harley soul. Second, weak competition. For the same money, riders buy an Indian Scout with more muscle, or a Yamaha MT-09 that outperforms it everywhere. Third, styling. Harley aimed for approachable, but most see it as bland. It doesn't excite. Younger riders are not buying. Gen Z wants affordable, lightweight, tech-filled machines. Honda, Yamaha, KTM, these brands are eating Harley alive. The loyal Harley base? They call it fake. Too modern, too soft, not a real Harley. Dealerships are stuck, and resale is brutal. Owners are angry. The Nightster was meant to save Harley's future. Instead, it became a symbol of what's wrong in 2025. A motorcycle that pleases no one and loses value faster than almost anything else. If you thought that comeback story was rough, wait until you see the heavyweight that tried to juggle two worlds and dropped them both. At number 14 is the Harley-Davidson Street Glide ST. This beast arrived in 2022 with huge expectations. Harley called it the bridge between sport performance and long-distance touring. Riders were promised agility and comfort in one package. On paper, it looked strong. A Milwaukee 8 117 engine with 106 horsepower and 127 pound-feet of torque. A massive 1,923cc setup. But performance means little when the bike weighs 827 pounds. That kind of bulk cancels out the sport claims instantly. The suspension setup was decent. Show a dual-bending valve in the front, emulsion shocks at the rear. Still, the ride felt stiff. On long roads, it punished more than it pleased. Braking was adequate, but lacked the precision expected in a so-called performance bagger. The real killer was the price. At launch, it demanded nearly $32,000. By 2025, resale drops under $20,000. And even then, buyers hesitate. Its biggest weakness was identity. Too heavy and vague for aggressive riding. Too stripped down for true touring. Add in the outdated boombox infotainment system, and it already felt old at launch. Meanwhile, the Road Glide ST quickly took over the spotlight. Better handling, sharper styling, more confidence on the road. The Street Glide ST was forgotten before it had a chance. This was Harley chasing two markets and losing both. Now strip away the touring pretense and head back to pure attitude. A bike once worshipped for style, now left looking like yesterday's relic. Number 13 is Harley-Davidson 48. The 48 once carried a serious attitude. That peanut tank, blacked-out stance, and bobber styling made it a favorite for riders who wanted raw simplicity. For years, it was a custom builder's dream, but by 2025, the shine has worn off. The Evolution engine that defined it is gone from Harley's lineup. The 48 was left stranded, a bike clinging to a past the company abandoned. Specs don't lie. A 1202C air-cooled V-twin producing just 60 horsepower and 73 pound-feet of torque. Respectable once, but today it feels underpowered compared to rivals. At 552 pounds, it's not light, and the handling feels heavy in tight spaces. The problems grow worse with comfort. The ride is harsh, the seating position cramped, and the suspension unforgiving. Then there's the tiny 2.1-gallon fuel tank. You're hunting gas every 90 miles. Touring is out of the question. Technology? Practically non-existent. An analog dash with no fuel gauge, no rider aids, and zero modern features. Against bikes from Indian, Triumph, or even Yamaha, it looks prehistoric. Originally priced near $11,000, resale in 2025 barely cracks $5,000. Demand is almost gone, and dealers move them slowly. The 48 went from cult favorite to outdated relic. A motorcycle remembered more for its style than its ride. But not all flops come from the past. Some arrive as bold experiments, machines that promised new horizons, only to sink like anchors. Taking the 12th place is Harley-Davidson Pan America 1250 Standard. Harley shocked the world in 2021. The Pan America was their first real entry into the adventure bike market. It was built to fight giants like the BMW GS and the KTM Adventure. On launch, some thought Harley had finally turned a corner. The specs were impressive. The Revolution Max 1250 engine delivered 150 horsepower and 94 pound-feet of torque. Weight came in at 562 pounds, competitive for its class. It had a semi-active Showa suspension, a 6.5-inch touchscreen, ride modes, traction control, the works. On paper, Harley was ready to play. But numbers don't win trust. Riders never believed Harley could build a true adventure bike. Reliability concerns spread fast. Complaints about overheating, glitchy electronics, and fragile parts. Worse, most Harley dealerships had no idea how to service ADV machines. Parts were slow, repairs expensive, and riders moved on. Even design choices hurt. The Standard came mostly in black. Meanwhile, the Pan America Special offered 6 color options and better equipment. Buyers skipped the base model, leaving it to rot on showroom floors. The market punished it hard. Originally priced around $17,000, used Pan Americas in 2025 sit unwanted. Resale values collapse, and bikes pile up in dealer stockrooms. In the end, it was a bold experiment, but the Pan America never fit Harley's image, and both Harley loyalists and ADV riders turned their backs. From adventure dreams to electric schemes, the next one wasn't just a gamble, it was Harley betting against its own DNA. Next up at number 11 is Harley-Davidson Livewire. There was a single glaring problem from the start: price. At nearly $30,000, the Livewire entered the market with supercar ambition and almost no audience. Harley thought it could buy the next generation's loyalty with a futuristic electric bike. Instead, it alienated both the old guard and the very riders it tried to attract. Sure, the performance was thrilling. 100 horsepower, 84 pound-feet of torque, and a blistering 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. It was light by Harley standards at 549 pounds, with fully adjustable Showa suspension and premium brakes. On paper, this was cutting edge, but buyers looked deeper. A 146-mile city range was unimpressive next to cheaper rivals like Zero. Charging infrastructure was still a mess, and early owners complained of battery degradation. Add in the silence of an electric motor, and Harley's trademark soul was gone. No rumble, no presence, no identity. Younger riders, already crushed by student loans and rising costs, laughed off the sticker shock. Harley loyalists wanted chrome, noise, and muscle, not a quiet $30,000 experiment. The Livewire was trapped in no man's land. Dealers are stuck with leftover stock they can't move, gathering dust in back rooms. Harley spun it off as a separate brand in 2021, effectively discontinuing it, yet a few still sit unsold, unwanted, and unloved. Speaking of broken promises, here comes a legend reborn so awkwardly that it erased its own legacy. Number 10 is Harley-Davidson Sportster S. The Sportster S was supposed to be a revolution. Harley promised a rebirth of its most iconic line. Instead, it turned into one of the brand's most polarizing failures. The new revolution, max engine, delivered 121 horsepower and 94 pound-feet of torque. At 502 pounds, it was lighter than older Harleys and packed with tech, digital dash, ride modes, and modern suspension. It looked futuristic too, with oversized tires, stubby exhausts, and a low-slung stance that screamed aggression. But there was a problem. It didn't feel like a Sportster. The riding position was awkward, the handling twitchy, and the single front brake underwhelming for a bike pitched as performance-ready. It was fast, yes, but not confidence-inspiring. The styling pushed riders further away. Longtime Harley fans wanted heritage, not a bike that looked like it belonged in a video game. And younger buyers, the supposed target, quickly compared it to lighter, cheaper, and better balanced options from Triumph, Indian, and Yamaha. The price tag, nearly $15,000, sealed its fate.
Resale values are collapsing. Few want to touch them. The Sportster S didn't just fail to carry the legacy, it buried it. Harley tried to drag the Sportster into the future, but in the process, they erased everything that made it special.
And if legacy wasn't confusing enough, imagine a machine that looked like pure muscle, but rode like a brick on wheels. Coming in at number 9, we have Harley-Davidson Breakout 117. It looked like a showstopper, long, low, and stretched out with that massive 240mm rear tire. It screamed attitude before the engine even fired. Harley sold it as a muscle cruiser, promising drag strip aggression mixed with everyday rideability. The numbers weren't weak either. The Milwaukee 8 117 engine pushed out 101 horsepower and a meaty 125 pound-feet of torque. On the street, it sounded mean, and that wide stance turned heads at every light. Priced above $23,000, it was marketed as pure style and swagger on two wheels. But beneath the flashy surface, problems piled up. The fat rear tire made cornering clumsy. Riders compared it to steering a boat, straight lines only. At nearly 700 pounds, it felt heavy even for Harley standards. Comfort was sacrificed for looks. The suspension was basic, the seat punishing, and longer rides were brutal. The tech felt bare bones too. A simple dash, no rider aids, nothing to justify the premium price. Other Harleys in the lineup offered better balance, better touring ability, and more practicality for less money. Competitors like Indian delivered modern muscle with actual rideability. Now, the hype is gone. Used Breakouts struggle to fetch even $12,000. Buyers realized it was all image, no substance. The Breakout 117 wanted to be a powerhouse, but instead, it became another overpriced garage ornament. Of course, Harley didn't just oversell muscle. They even tried to bargain with touring pride, and the result was emptier than the saddlebags. Number 8 is Harley-Davidson Electra Glide Standard. This model was Harley's attempt at a budget bagger. Strip away the luxuries, drop the price slightly, and sell it as a no-frills touring machine. In vision, it made sense. In reality, it made no one happy. For nearly $19,000, buyers expected long-haul comfort and tech. Instead, they got a massive 820-pound motorcycle with no infotainment, no cruise control, and fewer amenities than its road glide and street glide cousins. It looked like a touring bike, but it didn't deliver the touring experience. Riders felt Harley cut corners while still charging premium money. The weight made it clumsy in traffic, and on highways, the stripped-down approach felt punishing. Competing brands offered more features at the same price, or less. Even loyal Harley fans asked, why not just spend a little more for the real thing? Fast forward to 2025, the answer is clear. They didn't. Dealerships are packed with unsold Electra glides, and used models barely move for under $11,000. Riders don't want a half-measure touring bike when full-featured options exist everywhere. The Electra Glide Standard tried to fill a gap in the market. Instead, it exposed one. Harley cannot sell budget when their entire appeal rests on premium identity. In the end, this bike didn't save money. It cost Harley credibility. But when it comes to touring, nothing stings more than paying royal prices for a throne that feels anything but kingly. Number 7 is Harley-Davidson Road King Special. The Road King badge once meant presence, prestige, and miles of open road. But when Harley slapped special on the tank, what riders actually got felt more like subtraction. No fairing, no wind protection, just a stripped-down giant with bags. On the showroom floor, the stance was menacing. Long, low, and dripping with dark finishes, it looked like a bike built for kings. But the price price, nearly $24,000, was royal too. And once riders threw a leg over, reality set in fast. That massive 783-pound weight made city rides a chore. On the highway, the lack of shielding turned long hauls into battles against wind and fatigue. The word touring suddenly felt like a cruel joke. Meanwhile, for just a few grand more, Harley offered the Street Glide and Electra Glide, both loaded with comfort and tech. Why settle for less when more sat in the same showroom? Even Harley loyalists couldn't justify it. Today, used Road King specials are gathering dust. Dealers slash prices under $15,000 and still struggle to move them. Buyers want either full touring comfort or a light cruiser for the city. This machine was neither. The Road King special promised stripped-down swagger. What it delivered was an overpriced heavyweight that fit nobody's life. And speaking of stripped down, let's look at a bike that was so bare bones, it felt more like a sketch than the finished painting. Number 5 is Harley-Davidson's Softail Standard. The name itself was symbolic. Softail Standard. It almost admitted the bike wasn't finished. Riders still needed to add the style, the attitude, and the parts that made it feel like a true Harley. What Harley sold was a skeleton. What buyers expected was a soul. The pitch was simple. A stripped-down Softail you could shape however you wanted. A blank canvas, as the marketing put it. But spending over $14,000 for a bike that looked unfinished never sat right. Park it next to a lowrider or Fat Bob, and the Standard looked like a base model waiting for an owner to spend another fortune. Sure, it had the Milwaukee 8107, decent torque, and that familiar Harley rumble. But everything around it felt like a cost-cutting exercise. Basic dash, plain paint, no standout features. It whispered, "Starter Harley," in a showroom full of legends. Customization was supposed to be its strength, but it quickly became its curse. Riders realized building one out meant spending thousands more. And by then, you could have just bought a fully equipped Harley straight off the floor. That logic killed demand. Resale sits below $8,000, and even diehards won't touch them. The Softail Standard promised freedom of expression. Instead, it became a reminder that Harley shouldn't sell potential. It should sell presence. And if exile wasn't enough, here's one that once ruled the streets as an entry icon, until time turned it into dead weight. Taking the 4th spot is Harley-Davidson Street 750. Built overseas in India, it quickly drew side eyes from traditional Harley riders. Heritage was the brand's biggest weapon, yet this machine didn't carry that pride. To many, it felt more like a compromise than a cruiser. The 749cc engine struggled to impress. Just 47 horsepower meant new riders outgrew it in months, not years. Twist the throttle, and nothing exciting happened. Competitors like the Honda Rebel offered smoother rides, better tech, and more confidence at the same price. The build quality sealed its fate. Cheap plastics, rough welds, and a dash that looked more toy than motorcycle. Reviews called it dull, soulless, and awkward in corners. Even riders who wanted a first Harley walked past it in showrooms, choosing a used Sportster instead. Discontinued after a short run, the Street 750 left little legacy. What's left now sits in used lots, struggling to move even at bargain prices. Dealers practically beg for buyers, often listing them under $6,000. Seeing a Harley at that price isn't a bargain, it's a warning sign. A model once pitched as Harley's urban hero became its quietest failure. A bike remembered not for ruling the road, but for disappearing from it. Now from the streets to the so-called gateway Harley, a bike that opened doors once, but today can't even keep the lights on. Number 3 is Harley-Davidson Iron 883. The title once carried weight. It was the gateway Harley, the bike younger riders chose when they wanted something stripped down, affordable, and cool. For years, it played the role of an urban bobber, lean and gritty. But by 2025, that shine is completely gone. The problem starts with performance. At just 53 horsepower, the Iron 883 struggles to keep up with even modest modern middleweights. Riders who want excitement turn to the Triumph Bonneville, the Yamaha MT-07, or the Indian Scout 60, all faster, smoother, and better equipped. The Harley feels slow, heavy, and dated in comparison. Comfort is another issue. The cramped ergonomics, stiff suspension, and basic brakes make longer rides punishing. And at a time when even entry-level motorcycles are loaded with features, ABS, digital dashboards, ride modes, the Iron 883 still delivers an analog gauge and little else. Gen Z doesn't see authentic simplicity here. They see outdated tech for an inflated price. When new, it demanded over $11,000. Today, resale is barely scraping $9,000. And even then, buyers hesitate. The bike that once symbolized affordable rebellion is now a leftover sitting at the back of showrooms. The Iron 883 isn't just old school, it's obsolete. At number 2, we have Harley-Davidson Fatboy 114. This bike became the poster child for American muscle on 2 wheels. But nostalgia has limits, and in 2025, the Fatboy's shine has turned to rust. The problem starts with weight. Tipping the scales at over 700 pounds, it feels like steering a tank. Those massive solid disc wheels, once its signature look, now hurt more than help. They add weight, kill agility, and leave riders fighting the bike instead of enjoying it. Styling is another hurdle. What once looked bold now looks bloated. Younger riders see it as dated, almost cartoonish, compared to the sharper lines of rivals like the Indian Chief or Triumph Rocket 3. Those bikes deliver muscle and presence without the clumsy handling. And the money side? Brutal. With a new price above $20,000, buyers expected power and prestige. What they got was a slow-selling relic. Now in 2025, used Fatboys are sinking below $11,000 and dealers can't move them fast enough. The Fatboy once stood for cool rebellion. Today, it's proof that nostalgia can't carry a bike forever. Pop culture made it famous, but the market has left it behind. Finally, we reach the crown jewel, or what was supposed to be, the ultimate flex that became the ultimate failure. Number 1 is Harley-Davidson CVO Limited. Every surface gleamed with chrome, paint jobs looked hand-mixed, and the options list was already built in. Riders didn't buy it, they invested in it. That was the pitch. Prestige on 2 wheels. The reality? A motorcycle that weighed almost as much as a compact car. 900 pounds of bulk, sluggish to maneuver, exhausting in traffic, and terrifying in parking lots. Touring riders wanted comfort and ease. What they got was a workout machine disguised as a luxury cruiser. The sticker was even harder to swallow. Over $45,000 for a motorcycle pushed it beyond indulgence. You could buy a luxury SUV for the same money, or a Honda Goldwing that outshined it in performance and tech. Suddenly, the CVO Limited didn't look premium, it looked overpriced. Then came resale. Owners expecting exclusivity discovered something brutal. Nobody lined up to buy a used one. Dealers slashed prices into the mid-20,000s, yet showroom floors remain crowded with untouched CVOs. Riders know the losses are massive, and the reputation is toxic. Once intended as Harley's statement of success, the CVO Limited has turned into a silent showroom embarrassment, a luxury badge nobody wants to wear anymore. All right, enough doom and gloom. Not every Harley is sinking. Some still have teeth. Here are 2 bonus picks that prove Harley hasn't lost all its fight. Bonus number 1, Harley Street. Bob 117. It's the kind of bike that reminds us Harley hasn't lost touch with its roots. Only this time, the roots come with a serious shot of adrenaline. This isn't some timid starter bike. It's stripped down, raw, and ready to throw down at any stoplight. At the center is the Milwaukee 8 117, a big 1,923cc V-twin that doesn't whisper. It growls. Twist the throttle and it delivers that punchy rumble Harley diehards live for. What makes it stand out is the split personality. Out of the box, it's lean, dark, and minimal. No extra fluff. But it's also a blank canvas. Riders can shape it into their own. Tall bars, short pipes, fat tires. Whatever story you want it to tell. And here's the thing. While some Harleys lose steam on resale, this one holds its ground. It's earned respect as a foundation bike. A cruiser with true Harley soul, but backed by modern power. So in 2025, it isn't a relic of the past. It's a revival. For riders who want the essence of Harley without all the bulk, this one feels essential. Bonus number 2, Harley Street Glide Ultra. This one doesn't apologize for anything. It's big, it's bold, and it's built for the long haul. If the Street Bob is the rebel, this is the king of the highway. Fully loaded, fully committed, designed to make the interstate feel easy. Harley doubled down in 2025. They took the swagger of the Street Glide, then added the comfort and tech that make coast-to-coast rides feel like weekend runs. The Milwaukee 8117 sits at the heart of it. Torque for days. But it's more than just muscle. Riders get the Skyline OS infotainment system, plush seats for 2, heated grips, and storage that swallows gear without complaint. Plenty of bikes claim to be luxury tourers. The Ultra actually wears that crown. This is the choice for serious riders. The ones who want Harley's best, not leftovers. For diehards, it's proof the motor company can still build a true flagship. Part comfort cruiser, part rolling throne, and pure Harley heritage. While some models fade, this one stands tall as the gold standard for the long ride. Harley once sold dreams on 2 wheels. Now, too many of those dreams sit gathering dust, unwanted and unsellable. From overpriced mistakes to models nobody rides, the myth is cracking. And if you think this list was brutal, wait until you see how Harley-Davidson dealerships are trying to dump these 10 models ASAP.